Here is a requested illustration on how to achieve this cowl neck wrap draped skirt dress. So to start, to cut this, I'll be marking it out in a miniature form so that I'll be able to explain the lower part of this dress that has the wrap and draped skirt, right? So here's the shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, and shoulder to waist. We are starting to mark from the back pattern of this dress. So I'll go ahead to mark a zipper allowance in front of this pattern. Your zipper allowance can be 1.5 inches to 2 inches depending on what you want to use. Now I'll go ahead to mark a basic neckline of 3 inches by 1, and after marking that, I'll go ahead to connect. The next step is to go ahead to mark out my shoulder divided by 2 and mark. From that point, you're going to come down by 1 inch at this point. Now what you do is to go ahead to connect from here to this point, form your shoulder slope. The next step is to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Now I'll place my ruler and draw out a straight line there. After I'm done marking at this point, whatever you have at the shoulder, please go ahead to mark it on your chest line. I'll place my ruler to connect. After I'm done marking, I'll place my ruler, divide my armhole into 2. Then I'll come out by ½ inch. At this point, place your tape. You're going to mark your bust round measurement divided by 4. After marking this, go ahead to connect from the shoulder to the midpoint of your armhole and then connect it back to your bust round circumference divided by 4. Now after you're done marking this, we are going to start by inserting our measurements. Mark the bust divided by 4 and add a sewing allowance. Here, mark your under bust circumference divided by 4, add any sewing allowance of your choice. Now let's move over to the waistline. Go ahead to also mark your waist measurement divided by 4 and add your sewing allowance. So I'm cutting this as a dartless pattern. If you want to add that, you still go ahead to sew it up at the back pattern. So I'm also going to use this back pattern to cut out that of the front of this dress, which will be serving as a guide, right? So after marking this, now you want to take out the zipper bulge by marking ½ inch at this point. Then go ahead to place your ruler and you're going to connect this all the way to the upper part of your pattern. Now after you're done connecting at this point, you're going to replace this by the side to avoid shortage in your sewing allowance. Then go ahead to blend it out. After blending this out, you just go ahead to cut out. But before cutting out, you notice the sleeve of this dress is a bit smaller. We are still going to readjust that. So I'll just go ahead to cut this out. After I'm done cutting out, this is what I have. Now decide where you want the back neckline to stop. So I'll just use something that is not too low. I didn't really get the back pattern of this dress and it's an AI generated image. So I marked 2 inches the shoulder and I'll connect it back to the neckline. So for the back neckline, I went down a bit so that it won't be too open at the back since I didn't get to see the back of the dress, and I'll go ahead to connect. Now this is what I have for the back pattern. If you want to cut out the front pattern, all you do is to trace out the zipper allowance on this pattern. Now to cut out this pattern for the front, you notice the neckline is a bit lower, so I'll go down at least by extra 1.5 inches, right? So that by the time I create the cowl neck, it will still go down a bit. Now I'll come down at least by 1 inch or 1.5 after the bust, because if you notice, that's where we started having the cowl neck draping effect. So I'll just go ahead to cut this, slash it towards the armhole, and you open it. So depending on the opening you have, it will determine how deep your cowl neck is, the cowl neck effect you're going to have on your dress. So I'll just go ahead to pin this and I will open it up. If you want something moderate, you can just use between 6 inches for the opening of your dress, but because I'm cutting this in a miniature form, I'll just open it around 5 inches and trace out. So for a medium cowl neck effect, you can just use 6 inches, but if you want more, you can just go ahead to spread it out and open it. What you have to do is just to trace this. If you notice here, there's a come down at the sleeve before we started having the cowl neck effect. What I'll do is I'll maintain this and then I'll connect it, creating like a slight curve, so that I'll have that effect of that 2 inches shoulder that we marked. So this is what you have after you're done cutting out, and I'll go ahead to cut this out. I'll just go ahead, cut this out, and will now go ahead to cut out the skirt pattern of this dress. After I'm done cutting out, this is what I have. By the time you join this, you now have this drape effect. Now let's cut out the skirt. Here is 7 inches to get your hip point, your waist to knee line, and then you will come up by 2 inches from your knee. After marking this, we are going to go ahead to mark our measurement. Mark your waist measurement divided by 4, then add your sewing allowance. Mark your hip circumference divided by 4, then add your stitching allowance. Whatever you have on the hip, go ahead to take out 1 inch and mark at that 2 inches you came up by the knee. This is because if you look at this dress at the lower part, it is not too fitted at this point. Another thing you will notice that it is not also like a pencil skirt. It has like a slight free effect at the lower part. So from this point, I'll just slant it a bit towards the lower part of this dress, and I'll just go out a bit like I'm marking a mermaid skirt, something that is not too slanted, right? So after I'm done marking this, go ahead and I will cut this out. Now after cutting this out, to use this pattern to cut out the back, all you have to do is to add your zipper allowance in front of your skirt pattern, right? Then after doing that, you place back your pattern. What you're going to do now is from your waistline, you're going to come down at least by 4 inches from that point. Now you will now connect it. Note the midpoint, and you notice that it did not cut across the midpoint. Then you connect this all the way down. So after your hip line, come down a bit towards the thigh, and you just mark an opening that is not too wide, because we are going to also do a slash on this skirt, right? So after this, you'll be cutting out 2 pieces of this pattern, right? Because we are going to go ahead to cut out one part and use the other part to replace it. I'll place the other one underneath it that I cut out, and I'm going to be using my tracing wheel. So from here, I'll also mark this 4 inches or 3 inches at this point. Then I'll connect it to this line. What I'll now do is to go ahead to use my tracing wheel to trace out that side of the skirt, so that it will be showing on the pattern paper underneath it. Now after cutting this, all you have to do is that line, go ahead to cut it out. So sorry if you cannot see it, because I'm using a tracing wheel on a pattern paper. What I'll now do is to cut out this other side of the skirt. Now one side of the skirt will be overlapping the other one this way. Now to get this draped effect or ruched effect, you're going to use a slash and spread on your skirt to achieve it. You can slash it as open as you want, like how wide or how you want to spread it, because whatever you have here now, you're going to pleat it back towards the side, so that you can go ahead to create that pleated effect, right? So just open it up close to your allowance this way. Now this is what you will have, right? So on this other side also going to repeat the same effect. Now when you open it up, you will now trace this out. Now when you're now attaching it, you pleat it back the original measurement that you had earlier. Now we are also going to repeat this here. Go ahead to slash it open. After slashing it open on each side this way, what you now do is to open it up, place it on another pattern, trace this out. Now after tracing it out, you're going to go ahead to pleat it to the original measurement that you had earlier. It will now create those ruches. You now place overlap and join it back to your dress.